Changing minds one thought at a time.
Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Akina Finch.
Yes.
And we are super excited to have our wonderful guest on today, Mrs. Valerie Montgomery. She is a psychotherapist and the owner of Beyond Beautiful. How are you doing today, Valerie?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Finch.
Oh, no problem. I'm so excited to be talking to you about having a healthy body image. You know, are you excited about talking to us today?
Oh, definitely. It's a great topic.
My goodness. Amazing. I just have to let everybody know that I really just met Valerie, and this is Dr. Kina and her have been friends for a long time, and I just met her, and I already, can't wait to hear what she has to say. So you're not going to hear a lot from me tonight. I'm going to sit and just listen and savor every moment of Valerie's conversation and wisdom I can. She's awesome. Get out your pen and paper and take notes and just listen to what this girl has to say, because she totally kicks butt.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. And I wanted to give you some information on body image, but before I start on that content, I just want to make a disclaimer. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Colorado, and as being a licensed professional counselor, this conversation tonight will be a matter of education and an opportunity to learn. It will not take the place of personal counseling. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And first off, I would like to ask you what you were looking for from our conversation tonight. If we could have a couple of people's feedback on that, would that work?
Well,
I'm a little bit muted. The lines are muted in the call, so I'm not sure if anyone can really hear us or can call in and then speak.
Okay.
But for me, before you get started, if you wanted to share a little bit about really how you got started on this journey. I know your story was amazing and inspirational to me. I think our listeners love to hear that.
Yes. So I am a woman. I am a daughter and a sister. I am a mother and a grandmother, otherwise known as Ole. They call me Ole. I am also a counselor, a mentor. I am a colleague. And the first half of my adult life was spent being a mother and homeschooling my children. And when my youngest was 15 and I was going through a divorce, I went to graduate school and got my degree in counseling. It's a master's degree. And then started on my journey of creating a private practice to be able to meet the needs of women in an emotional, supportive way so they can live more fulfilled lives. And part of that with women is all the messages that we get. Growing up, we get a lot of conflicting messages about who we are, what we're supposed to be, and how do we do this thing called life. So tonight's topic on body image is very relevant to how we live every day. Did you have another question, Jessica? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Sure.
Phenomenal. And I know,
yes,
you had questions you wanted to ask Valerie as well, right?
Yes. On the topic of body image, why did you start focusing on that?
Okay. Well, on a personal note, I was the middle of three daughters. My father was raised in an orphanage in New York City in the 30s. My mother came from rural Alabama, from poverty, and there was almost a sense in my family of looking really good. Pictures were taken when we would make our dresses and stand in front of the car before going to church. There was a lot that looked really good. I got a lot of messages about what our bodies were for. Well, first of all, we needed to make our dresses to fit our bodies, but my family had it was like a production. in a way. My oldest sister was put on a diet when she was 8. I watched that. And then when I was in high school, I decided that 120 pounds where my thighs were starting to touch was fat. So I started dieting from one of my mom's magazines. And I would have been diagnosed with an eating disorder if it was a current diagnostic tool. I would have had an eating disorder. But back then it wasn't considered an eating disorder. No one even knew I had an eating disorder. My mother helped me to diet. So that was a very scary experience for me. I ultimately knew to skip a menstrual cycle was not healthy, that I needed to eat. I was shaking at my locker in high school, got down to 114 pounds, and I knew I wasn't healthy. I was exercising in the living room, having a grapefruit for breakfast, half a grapefruit, things like that. And there were all these messages. You got to look good so you can attract a man. There's a lot of that going on. So the concept of body image has been interesting to me. I do have a model of healthy body image development in girls that I train on, but that's not the topic for tonight. Tonight I want to talk about the spiritual, emotional, and behavioral components of body image. Spiritual meaning your sense of who you are, that's not necessarily your physical body. Emotional meaning how do you connect with your body. And behavioral, what do you do with that information? Our sense of our own bodies emerges from a dialogue between our knowledge of it as a lived experience, its pleasures, its pains, the needs and desires of our physical selves, and a more ambiguous sense of how that body appears to others. Paul Schilder defined body image in the 1930s as the picture of our body which we form in our mind. That is to say, the way in which our body appears to ourselves. That's his quote. I thought that was really good because it speaks to the emotional side. Our body image is central to our mental and physical well-being. So I want to go over 4 content categories of what forms our concept of our reality, and especially tonight about our body image. Is this making sense? Is there anything that I need to repeat at this point, do you think?
Yeah, I think this is amazing. I really love it. This really full and holistic aspect into the conversation. And, I've mentioned before on this podcast that I used to have a really poor body image and really a poor self-image. And then I changed a lot. I changed what I ate. I changed myself spiritually. Just praying and to help me see myself for the beautiful person I am. Then my image slowly began. And I would love for you to take us on that journey of what changed for you from being, having an eating disorder to really having a successful career and becoming a counselor. What changed and how did you get? And how can listening tonight, if you in that place before the mirror saying they don't love themselves, how can they really do what you did?
Right. So I think what's really important, and I think, Jessica, you're getting to the core of what is important and how do we do this. For me, it came with a loss of a marriage, a loss of a way of thinking, and then it came also with more truth about myself, more understanding of myself because of the divorce. And, before I started graduate school, I was going through my own recovery, emotional recovery with support group, my own counselor for 2 years. And then I started my graduate program in counseling, of which was the requirement to practice on each other, to become more aware of ourselves and how that interacts the counseling dynamic when we go to work as a counselor. So for us to do counseling, we need to be healthy and take care of ourselves. And so I consider that like 4 years of intense therapy. And so for me, it was learning to, well, first of all, I needed to know who I am. So learning about myself emotionally, academically, spiritually, what do I do about who I am? Do I accept myself or do I reject myself? Coming into a place of valuing myself. The first time I got a facial was because my children bought it for me. I mean, that's nice of them and all, but it's kind of sad because I never did things like that. I didn't know I had needs. She was my, well, I can't really say, but 12-step group mentor, and she said, Valerie, what do you need? And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't compute. I don't have needs. I really thought that at the time. I've come a long way from where I was back then when I didn't know I had needs and wants or know the difference between those two. And then to become a functional adult, meaning that I take care of those needs and wants, and then celebrating myself. So that's a big part of it too, celebrating who I am and taking off some of the blinders which can be covered by a fear or some messages that we received growing up. Even a couple weeks ago when I was having a massage and one of my muscles was going around one of my bones, and to support the bone, the muscle was helping the bone, and I thought my body has a relationship within itself as well, and I felt gratitude well up because my body is a living thing. It's not like a skeleton that you read about or see at the museum. It's actually alive, and that was a new concept for me just recently. And so every component of my physical form is trying to help me as a being. And so the first relationship we have is with ourselves. And it's come across more so recently with that awareness of that my body's alive. My bones are living. It's not like a piece of wood that's, the tree is chopped down and there's my desk sitting in front of me made out of wood. My bones are actually alive right now, like making more blood and connecting to my muscles. And the fact that we have any capability of physical form is amazing when you think about it. So body image to me is that relationship between myself, of my awareness, of me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because it houses the essence of who we are, and then what we do about that are our behavioral components. So there's all these factors that come together, but I truly believe that the way we feel about ourselves, to the extent we love and care for ourselves, can we love and care for others. And it's not to shame anyone that I say that. It's to give permission. Giving myself permission has been huge for me. And actually, I did a speaking event in February in the town of Pueblo, Colorado, and that morning I had looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, I like my body. And I was just like, what a concept. I was going to speak on eating disorders and self-injury down there. And I'm like, I like my body. My body has expanded into a woman's body. I was constantly trying to live up to some sort of an ideal which my father and my mother had about what we were supposed to look like. And I really think it was shaped by some deprivation in their past, which is fine. But now I'm embracing my womanhood. Like the clothes I used to wear fit my 12-year-old bonus daughter now. She was wearing a jacket I gave her that used to be mine, like, not too long ago. And now my body is happier. I can't really explain it. It's a spiritual experience to appreciate myself.
That is awesome. I went through that myself, I was actually going through that when we first met, if you remember. And, now I just didn't understand why my body had to get larger. Because when I was younger, I was probably, I didn't become over 100 pounds until I turned 17 years old. And,
my goodness.
Yes. I was literally 78 pounds when I started high school, probably around at every point. But it helped being 5'2". But I didn't understand why I had to expand, and it was like my body needed to do this. I thought it was stress, but in actuality, I felt better at that particular size. My mind didn't feel better about it, but my body felt better.
Yes.
And it didn't feel very good when it was 110 pounds and even 130. But once I get over that, it felt comfortable. It was like it was in this right space. But my mind wasn't. My mind was still stuck at 110. But now I'm starting to really get together, and now once I got that point where this is where you're comfortable. Now let's get them maybe together. Once I start exercising, and the mind and the body start coming together, that's when I start feeling whole. Yeah. And I figured that once you feel whole, you can't really do anything successful until you're whole. And the more
you're
I became
fractured,
whole,
you're living fractured.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the way I felt. And the more I started exercising, the more I started getting to where I needed, then the more successful I became. And so does your success actually affected by your body image, do you think?
While you were talking, I was thinking, Akina, about what I work with clients on, what I've understood for myself is the head houses the brain, and the head or the brain thinks it's in charge. But what carries the wealth of life is our body. From our neck down lives our truth. Now, our mind likes to trick us into thinking it knows what's best. And our minds are very useful, but when the mind and the heart is fighting, that's when we're not living in our power. So I teach and I operate through that connection between our mind and what our intellect can do for us and the truth of what's lived. I mean, before my recovery, I really couldn't burp. I never burped. It was weird, but now I can burp. I have a connection between my head and my body. Our bodies give us so much information. And I'll say, well, okay, so I see tears. What are you feeling right now? What is your emotional state? What's going on for you? And they'll say, I'm sad, or I'm happy, or not really, but no, I'm worried, or whatever the word is, and I'll teach them to pay attention to where their body feels tight, which is a way of giving permission to have that emotion and the experience of that emotion so that they breathe through it and then release it. So it's something that can teach. Our bodies teach us as well. And the definition of mental health is what's on the inside matches what's on the outside. So knowing what's going on for us internally is really important for us to be able to share ourselves in a congruent way. That's the counselor term for the inside matches the outside and the outside matches the inside. Children do this all the time. You know, they're closer to clarity than most adults. You know, like, you're frowning, you know, what's going on, what's wrong, or whatever they say. Kids just have a way of putting it. And so just knowing what's going on for us and how to accept and communicate with our bodies will help us to appreciate and care for our bodies.
Yes. That sounds awesome, Barry. And, you know, one of the things I've actually mentioned before is that I saw a really big change in my life when I actually started changing what I put in my body. And, you know, I think you're right anymore that the way our body functions is really just who we are. I mean, you are what you eat. Literally, the food that you eat becomes the cells in your own body. And when I started, you know, doing the regular nutritional cleansing and regular meditation, my body started to change how I felt about my body. How important if people do things like meditate daily or to put the right foods in their body, how different will it be for them? And what are some things people can do, like some practical, like takeaway tips that people can do after this call tonight to start to improve their body?
Good question. I enjoy teaching people to do things that bring them pleasure, that are healthy for them. I like to encourage different types of connecting activities to connect with ourselves in all different ways. I help people come up with pleasurable activities list, things they can do inside or outside or daytime or nighttime, things that take money, that don't take money, things with people, things alone, anything from taking a walk, reading a book, calling a friend, participating in something that brings them joy every day, I think is really important. And that gives a springboard for trying new things, because you can go back just like a toddler, start with the things that you know you enjoy, and be in touch with yourself and treat yourself as valuable. So I think that that's important, and then you can challenge yourself from there. And I like to teach breath work, breathing in through your mouth, breathing in through your nose or your mouth, and then exhaling through your mouth, especially when you're feeling emotional. So does that give you some ideas?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And those are some really great tips, I think, that our listeners can walk away from after the call today.
Yes, that's great. Yes.
Well, Valerie, I know you have some great projects coming up. Would you like to tell us about that as far as the body image and things that you're going to be doing in the future in that area?
Yes, I have a counseling practice in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I work mainly with women. I also am starting a women's empowerment place, which is a collaboration of like-minded professionals who own their own businesses in different industries that can provide a one-stop location for these businesses. So whether the clients are women or the business owners are women, all of the providers would offer their services, be it financial advising or spiritual counseling or prescriptive authority, like a medical provider, or even facials. We have an esthetician here who can help women or any community member with their self-care. And it's a project to create multi-industry professionals to provide their services through a women-centric model of care from a place of abundance, passion, sharing, graciousness, mutuality, and growth. So that's what I'm working on now. I'll be working on the website for that coming up here in the next month. And we've already started the ground. We're on the ground. We have 2 counselors. We have an astrologist, a lens or low energy neurofeedback practitioner, and an esthetician, as well as administrative support. So I picture it like a flower. The center is the administrative support. The next phase, or the outward from the center, is the providers, and then the next part on the wheel on the outside is the community. So thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you so much for being part of our call. And we do have a special, we are really excited to be really promoting a healthy body image and really just a healthy lifestyle. And I know I've said on this call and other calls before that, I had a major change in my life. When I started doing regular nutritional cleansing, I started really being mindful of what I'm eating and putting into my body. And it helped me to really have a better body image. And I'm very passionate about the idea that we are what we eat, and that if we take care of our bodies, and if we're really putting the right stuff in our bodies, that it will affect us internally and change the way we feel about ourselves. So we do have a special treat tonight for all of our listeners. And I know a lot of people do stream this call later, so we're going to actually make this available for 6 months. So we have a special gift for anyone who's listened to this call, and that is a 15-minute consultation with the registered dietitian that I've used to actually change my nutrition and get healthy. So her name is Dina Callahan, and she's amazing, and she's offered to really just give anyone who will ask for it tonight, a free 15-minute consultation. So that's so generous of her, and we're so thankful for that. And if you're interested, if you're sitting here saying, you know what, I want to have a healthy body image, I'm ready to really just grow spiritually, I'm ready to think of myself differently, I'm ready to look in the mirror and love what I see, the first step for me is really just eating the right stuff. So that's a wonderful, amazing, generous offer that Dina's made for us. And if you would like to take advantage of that offer, you can email us at contact@changingmindsonline and just put in the subject line, body image, and let us know when and how to reach you, and we will have her reach out to you for a free 15-minute consultation. Thank you so much, Valerie, for being part of this call.
You are so welcome, and thank you for that information that you just shared, Jessica.
No, absolutely. It was a pleasure tonight, for everyone to be with everyone and just learn and grow with you guys. And, this Empowering Women series is really taking off, and this is really a special call and we didn't really talk about it in the beginning. We did talk about it last week. But this Thursday night call of Changing Minds Online is a really special project near and dear to all of our hearts, where we're talking about empowering women. Valerie is an amazing woman there's so much we can learn from her. So check her website out, too. And what's your website again, Valerie?
It's beyondbeautiful.net. My telephone number is 719-598-7800. And I also will take email, Valerie@beyondbeautiful.net. And I named that because women are already beautiful. When they accept, love, and value themselves, they go beyond that natural beauty. So that's what I'm about.
That's amazing. I think that's a great way to end our call tonight, and just know that you are beautiful and you deserve. So I hope you guys enjoyed the rendition of Changing Minds Online, the Women Empowerment Series. Akina, is there anything you want to say before we close?
Thank you, Valerie, for being part of the call. And if anybody wants to hear Valerie's wonderful information, you can find it on iTunes, Podomatic, and, of course, at www.changeyourmindsonline.com. Thank you so much, everyone. It has been our pleasure to help empower women. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys. God bless. Love you all. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.